Excellent. I'd like to welcome then Adrian Joyce to kick us off properly, Secretary General of Eurowaste and Campaign Director for Renovate Europe. I understand you've had a busy week, Adrian. Lots going on in the realm of buildings and renovations. And indeed, it's the campaign's 10th birthday, if I'm not mistaken. So over to you to kick us off this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for that introduction. Indeed, it is our 10th year, as you can see over my shoulder. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon to kick off and open this important event, which is supported, as you see, by Renovate Europe and Energy Monitor. I'm delighted that our champion, Peter Sweatman, who's CEO and founder of our supporting partner, ClimateStrategy and Partners, is presenting this powerful proposal that you've just mentioned on the introduction of mortgage portfolio standards in the EU, because we see it has the potential to massively increase the amount of funding that goes to energy renovation, whilst at the same time making funding easily available to millions of Europeans. During the event today, we'll hear reactions from key policymakers and stakeholders, and you will learn, I hope, why this is such a good idea. For those of you who don't know, the Renovate Europe campaign is a political communications campaign that enjoys the support of 49 partners from industry, city networks, think tanks, financiers, trade unions, and others. We also have 45 champions together for renovation among politicians, community leaders, and financiers, all of whom are supporting our efforts. And among those partners, we count 18 national partners who are active on the ground in the member states of the EU. And our ambition in all of this effort is to see a reduction in the energy demand of the building stock by 80% by 2050, because this is absolutely essential if Europe is to achieve its long-term climate goals, and essential if we want to achieve a highly energy efficient and decarbonised building stock by that date. So on our 10th anniversary, we've been looking back, and we're very pleased to see the progress that's been made in the last decade on bringing the topic of energy renovation to the highest political level in the EU. And along with our partners, I think our work has demonstrated that long-term climate and energy goals cannot be achieved without addressing the huge energy waste in our buildings. And I'm happy to say this is now fully reflected in the EU legislative framework. Renovation, as many of you know, features as a flagship initiative in the European Green Deal and in the Next Generation EU initiative that launched the Recovery and Resilience Facility, putting lots of money into the system to help put the EU economy back on track. So succeeding in achieving the ambition of the campaign will be challenging, and for that we're going to need to have new tools and approaches to make that work. And among the approaches being considered is the introduction of minimum energy performance standards in the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive for segments of the building stock. These mandatory requirements, we hope, will be highly effective in boosting renovation rate and depth. And indeed, they're proving to be highly effective in some member states already, but only when they're introduced in a phased manner with initial signalling, followed by full implementation with penalties for non-compliance. And we have seen that in countries like the Netherlands and in France already. But financing remains a crucial cornerstone of the challenge, and it is well known that we can't rely on public financing only, like the Recovery Fund money. So there's much interest now among private and commercial banking to look at sustainable investments. And we say energy renovation is a prime candidate for those investments. But maybe the biggest source of funding is tied up in our homes and the huge equity that could be released from them. And for us, this is where the brilliant idea of introducing a mortgage portfolio standard comes in. Requiring banks to improve over time the energy performance of the real estate assets or homes that they hold in their mortgage portfolios should lead to new financing products that will be available at all street corners, making the opportunity for energy renovation more visible and more attractive to homeowners and mortgage holders to take on. We see that there are at least two places where this idea could be embedded. Firstly, in the revision of the Buildings Directive, a provision could be and should be introduced in Article 10 on financial incentives and market barriers, requiring member states to rapidly introduce mortgage portfolio standards, I would say in line with the recommendations of the report you're about to be presented with. As I said a moment ago, this, in our view, would incite banks to devise new products that would encourage a much higher number of building owners to take the decision to energy renovate their buildings. A second place where this could be embedded is in the Mortgage Credit Directive, where a requirement could be included obliging banks to gather before and after energy performance certificates that show the improvement in energy performance as part of the essential information that that directive requires banks to hold against each mortgage that's given out. So with those few words, I'm going to end my intervention. I'd like to express the hope that once mortgage portfolio standards are introduced in the EU via the revised Buildings Directive, that we will rapidly see a step change in the rate and depth of energy renovations that will put the building sector at the center of our efforts to achieve our medium and long-term climate and energy goals. So thank you for the attention. Thanks to Peter and his team for inviting us to support this webinar, and good luck with the launch of the report and with its rollout, Peter, over the weeks and months ahead. So back to you, Sonia, to really get the event underway.